Day 976. It is, I think, 11 o'clock in the morning. I have to document this, so I have these dreams recorded, but I had some super intense dreams last night. Yeah, really, really intense dreams. And so I have to document them. The first dream that I had is I was at prayer night at church, and there was a girl there, and she was praying. And like we all had to like bow our heads and just start praying for ourselves, and she started praying, and I could hear her actually praying. It's like she wanted me to hear it, and she was asking God to forgive her for her arrogance and her pride and her ego. And then she came and prayed for me, and she put her hand on my forehead, and she was praying. I don't know what she was saying. And then she went behind me, and she put her hands on my eyes and started praying. And all of a sudden I took the biggest, loudest deep breath ever. It was like like the breath that you would take if you were held underwater for like an hour and you're this close to drowning, and you get to the surface, and it was like that breath, and it was like a breath of life. And I knew like in that moment my life was changed forever. And then she kept praying, and then there was like this overwhelming emotion that came up, and this pain, and I was just weeping for a few moments. And then I stopped, and it was just like this crazy powerful prayer. Like her prayer was unlocking things. And then she walked away, and she sat on stage, and someone was interviewing her, and I looked at her, and she had tears in her eyes, and the light was shining on her, and it was like she was transformed. Like the pride and the ego and the arrogance that she was repenting for was actually gone, and it was just her in her humility and her light. And that was super powerful, and I was like, maybe I should share this dream with her. But I just wrote it down, and I was like, all right, God, if you want me to share it with her, make it obvious, and I will. But if you don't make it obvious, I'm not going to, because that's an intense dream to share with someone, especially with them repenting for arrogance, pride, and ego. That could be pretty offensive. So I'm giving it to Jesus. Like, hey, if you want me to share it with her, I will. But give me an undeniable, like, confirmation that you want that. Yeah. And then I had another dream where I went to this event, and it was like this personal development event for believers. And I went to the event, and I was sitting at this table, and all of a sudden my old business partner comes up, and I like see him out of the corner of my eye, and I'm like looking down, I'm writing something, and there's a spot to the left of me and a spot to the right of me. And those are the only open spots. And he's looking around at all the other tables, because I know he doesn't want to sit there. We don't even acknowledge each other. And then he sits down, and we don't say anything. And I'm like, oh man, I never sent him that video that I recorded, that apology video. I apologized to him, but I never sent him the video, and I still haven't. I need to upload it and send it to him. And some things happen, and then I go back to the table, and then he's walking over, and I look at him, and I'm like, hey man, and I just start crying, and I can feel he's on the verge of tears too. And he just puts his arm around me, and he says, it's okay. And I just start crying, and I just start apologizing, and it was just like this overwhelming, like, yeah, emotion. And he was crying too, and it was just like, wow, there's some pain there. So I really need to send him that video that I recorded a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. So yeah, that was really intense. And then the event was like getting started, and there weren't like a ton of people there. It was in this like hotel conference room. And some lady came up to me from church or something, and she was like, oh, you're speaking at this event, right? I was like, no. I was like, I didn't even know this event existed. She was like, oh man, I was thinking you're gonna speak because this other person is speaking. And then that was it. And then I woke up. And so, yeah, it was intense. But that prayer that she prayed was massive. And I really feel like that dream has a lot of meaning behind it. And so yeah, I just pray that God will give me wisdom on what that is. Either wisdom for me, wisdom for her, or wisdom for both of us. But yeah, it was very significant. So